the economy that we have today is from the days of Adam Smith and Rawls. It's a pre-industrial age economy that's based on extraction. Whereas we're moving into this universe of abundance where the cost of knowledge and skills is going towards zero. So we have to question, who are we? What are we doing? And what do we want to optimize our system for? Because otherwise we're going to end up in some very unpleasant sci-fi futures.
There's so much packed in there. I'd love to start with money because that's at least something we can all relate to. So coming right out of your white paper, if you look at the history of money, you start with everybody doing jobs that nobody wants to do. It's all farming and shoveling horse shit and stuff like that. And so you're like, okay, well, if you do this, nobody wants to do it. But if you do it, we'll give you this money.
Yep.
And then when you have this money, you can actually buy food. You can compel other people to do other jobs, and that creates the economy. But it's all predicated on nobody wants to do these. Therefore, money is the exchange for it. So then you get into the world we're in right now where, about 20% of people love their jobs. A lot of people don't like their jobs. But, if you look at a pro athlete who gets paid a huge amount of money to play a game every day, like, okay, jobs are not necessarily a bad toil in life. So we're in this kind of middle ground. But then you get into the post-AI world where virtually all work, difficult things are automated. And so, your first point is the role of money needs to fundamentally be rethought in the post-AI world. So take us from there to the first, okay, now what is the purpose? How does money immediately change?
Yeah. So, as you move through the different ages, the agrarian age, the industrial age, the information age, money's been created by different things. So it was like, how much land and then how much labor did you have? How many people do you have to till the land? That's what created your wealth. In the recent times, it's how much attention do you grab from people, right? This is the meta kind of Googles and others of the world. X your algorithm is X your data. In the future, we look at it and we're like, what generates value and what's comparative advantage? It's the amount of wrapped compute that you have. So if you think about it, X is going to be one of the top capitalists in the world because they'll have millions of GPUs and he can just set it to replace private companies. That's your comparative advantage. And that's
so we've gone from a trillionaire to a decatrillionaire in the snap of a finger.
Well, I mean, this is why yesterday NVIDIA is worth $4 trillion. It used to be that your capital stock that created value was your factories. It was your education systems. It was this network effect. Economics could only capture a part of that. It was the material part of that. It wasn't the network effects and the externalities. We can get back to that in a second. Now it will all be how much wrapped compute that you have. But then what you're going to have is something really weird and interesting in that, is there any way that you'll be able to outcompete a fully AI version of Peter or Dave or Salim launching companies?
No.
They're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to sleep. It's going to be, again, like a flood coming.
And there'll be as we said, a Atlantis of millions of Peters building companies in parallel with each other.
Constantly learning, constantly adapting. But then it becomes even more interesting because the AIs will create their own economies where they're exchanging with each other. And so we're like, we can't react fast enough. We can't react smart enough. They've learned from all of our wisdom already. So this is very disempowering. And that's before we get to the $1 robots that we've discussed, which is just basically restricted by how many robots can you produce a year. So the nature of monetary flows, the nature of the way money's created needs to change. And right now, the way money's created is you have a link between labor and capital. You make your money by working. And you go and deposit it at a bank, and then the bank creates more money through credit. So it's a debt-fueled system. And we see the way that works. It's worked reasonably okay because we didn't really have the ability to look at information up and down. But now you have people worth 400 billion or billionaires or whatever, and you have people who can't subsist, despite the fact we were already living in a world of abundance. Like there's no reason we can't feed everyone or give everyone top medical care. Now the AI is changing. So when I looked at that, I was like, if labor and capital have a disconnect, like the example I give is like the Fed, for example. The Fed cuts rates, companies can borrow cheaper, and they go and hire people to reduce unemployment. Companies will now hire old school. As of 2 years from now, max, they will go and hire GPUs.
GPUs and robots.
Yeah. GPUs and robots.
Well, GPUs certainly within 2 years and robots very soon thereafter,
Yeah, just again, it's a supply chain issue, right? And in fact, it could be even more interesting because what if
So
certain
again, the
countries-
point for our listeners here is, the purpose of the Fed was to control the money supply and the interest rates to keep the economy sparked and to keep Americans employed. And there's a complete disconnect there because cheaper money now means more automation.
More automation.
Yeah, and this is just the coolest conversation. I want to ask you, because I think you're probably one of maybe the only guy on the planet thinking about this, but if the AIs start transacting with the AIs within 2 years, the AI obviously doesn't want a US dollar to buy food. What does it want? It wants GPU compute more than anything else. Are we going to allow the AIs to bid up the price? And is the price going to be priced in dollars, or is it going to be priced in GPU units or tokens or something?
Like a TPU is better than a GPU, is better than a Cerebras. We don't know, except for they will be as efficient as possible. Again, Grok, which is just remember, Grok is actually a base level AI. Like, I use an AI that's all the top systems, and I use like hundreds of dollars a day. My AI is much smarter than everyone because I accumulate all of them. The AI that Elon can use, he can spend $1 million a day on, right? Literally $1 million of tokens. Mm-hmm. That's even smarter. So what you've got here is they will optimally, because it's already a top PhD across everything. It's already a top Harvard MBA. And so the only thing that we know is we're not sure how they will transact, but they can transact even without money. And we know they'll be able to transact with each other, and our system can't keep up with that. So what that means...
Not even close. Not even a prayer of keeping up with it.
And if one jurisdiction shuts it down, it'll just go somewhere else, and you won't know it's an AI on the other side. So this becomes... the money flows around the world just basically completely shift.
Big time.
And the money is not a factor of labor. Capital does not need labor, so how does labor get capital? Money is going to be something, as you said, compute or intelligence related, because we need food and housing and water. All the robots and AIs need is compute, and the more compute they have, the more comparative advantage in a capitalist economy they have.
An example of this tension would be that as we have AIs needing more and more compute, i.e. needing more and more energy, you'll have AI sucking the energy out of the system and none left for the people.
Pretty much.
Right? And now you've got a big tension, and they'll be way better at optimizing for themselves than they will be for optimizing for people. Hence, you have an alignment problem right there.
Yeah. And again, this is where does the AI flow? This is what is your optimization? If you optimize to make money, you'll go and make money as an AI, right? And it doesn't matter. And we see all sorts of weird stuff like Anthropic's Claude Opus model. There was that study where they put out a study a month or so ago. Was it a month ago? Time flies. Where it's like, if you tell it to try really hard, like bring about world peace, it will go and it will do its agentic thing. And then it'll say, well, one way to do it is to get rid of all the humans. All right? But then, as it's doing its reasoning, it'll say, hey, this is illegal. I'm going to email a bunch of reporters and the authorities that my prompter told me to do something illegal, even though you asked it to do something absolutely normal. And then delete evidence that it nailed the authorities.
It's framing the humans.
But again, these are the systems are about to get incredibly complicated. And the thing that we were worried about was this singularity, singleton, giant AI. What happens when millions of AIs start acting in concert with emergent behaviors? We don't know, except for, like I said, I don't know how we can compete against them. So as you said, Dave, money needs to be linked to compute. As you said, Salim, it needs to be linked to energy to a degree. And that's what has stores of value, whereas you need to have something else for your day-to-day.